Welcome into the PFF NFL Daily. Today discussing two of the good young quarterbacks in the NFL. And which one would you rather have? Because we got to embrace debate here, Sam. Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals, Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers, both grading in the top five in PFF grading. Both had excellent rookie seasons last year. Of course, Burrow went number one overall, and Justin Herbert went number six overall to the Chargers. So, Sam, let's solve this once and for all. Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert. Don't forget, Justin Herbert won the head-to-head matchup a couple weeks ago. So some people have already put the nail in this coffin and gone right to Herbert. Where are you going in this debate?
He did. I would argue that Joe Burrow actually kind of outplayed him in that game, as weird as it was. But it's a really interesting debate because they're both great right now. Like you said, two of the top five rated quarterbacks. Joe Burrow right now is behind only Tom Brady in overall PFF grade. Justin Herbert is up at number 4 now that Kyler Murray has dropped down after Monday night. So they're both fantastic. They've both put up some impressive numbers. And Justin Herbert is one of those few quarterbacks that every single week there's a throw in his tape where you look at it and you're just like, wow, that's insane. Like the 60-plus yard touchdown he threw to Guyton this past week was one of the best throws of any quarterback in the entire season. Like it was absolute madness. But I do feel that Joe Burrow has it more often than Herbert does. Like he just has it put together for a greater percentage of his play than Herbert does. And I think there's debate as to why, like what is holding Herbert back? Is it him? Is it the scheme? Is it the coordinator, the play caller? Like what is dragging Herbert back? But I think right now there's at least an acknowledgement that there is something kind of capping how good he is.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because on the surface, the way you described Herbert with the great throws, like when you watch Herbert's great throws, because everybody's got big time throws, but Herbert's just look different. They are
Yeah.
special. That throw you said, I would say it is the best throw of the NFL season on Sunday. So you hypothetically would expect Herbert's ceiling to be higher, right? But he just doesn't do it as often, right? Joe Burrow has 10 more big time throws than Justin Herbert this year. But again, is that because of scheme? Is it whatever? My thing with Herbert, because I would probably lean Joe Burrow here, just to answer the question. I would lean Joe Burrow, but I'm always hedging. I'm gonna see both sides here. I'm gonna see both sides. If I'm gonna be there defending Jameis Winston for years, just because of the potential, right? Which was the volatility that Jameis Winston brought to the table,
Which you definitely have been.
I've clung to it. The volatility that he brings. If I'm starting a team, there's something tempting about the volatility, not because of the negatives, but obviously what the payout would be. Even with the numbers pointing in Burrow's direction right now on the high end stuff, I think Herbert does have that high end potential that might be a little bit higher than Joe Burrow. It would be on me, offensive coordinator or head coach, whatever I am, to unlock it, right? So I would probably lean Herbert if I was starting a team, but I do think Joe Burrow has been the slightly better quarterback to this point.
It is really interesting. We said this before in the kind of preview of the game when they face each other, that they're almost the opposite quarterback than you thought they would be when they came out at draft time, right? And based off their physical tools. Herbert is the big, strong arm quarterback that can make the insane 60-plus yard throw that we just talked about. And Burrow is the guy with, a marginal NFL arm that has to get by on accuracy and smarts and all those kinds of things. But Burrow has a big-time throw rate that's almost double Justin Herbert this season. Herbert has been the guy that's been super careful with the football. Only Tom Brady has a lower turnover-worthy play rate than Herbert does. Herbert has an average depth of target that's like a yard plus lower than Joe Burrow's is. So it's really interesting the sort of the players that they are developing into and how completely divergent that is from what you would have expected based off their profile at draft time.
But I'm going to explain that away in just a minute. Football fans, I'm sure we all love an action-packed, high-scoring NFL game. But with the latest no-brainer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, you'll be a winner once a single point is scored. New customers who bet just $1 on any team to score can win $100 in free bets. It's that simple. The Sportsbook isn't yet available in your state. You can still get in on the NFL action. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with the DraftKings daily fantasy sports contests. And DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PFF. Bet $1 on any team to score and win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score with promo code PFF this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I'm going to say the Joe Burrow big-time thrill rate is all down to Jamar Chase. Look, the big-time throw, the PFF quarterback grading system, it is the best there is at isolating the quarterback. But I will say, there are different opportunities that quarterbacks have when it comes to grading. And that's where receivers come in. Receivers give you the opportunity for big-time throws sometimes, and they give you the opportunity for positively graded plays and just for big plays. And Jamar Chase gets a step on a defender on a deep ball once or twice a game, and it gives Joe Burrow the opportunity to hit him in stride. Now, the last 2 weeks hasn't shown up in the stat sheet. Jamar Chase has bobbled one in the end zone, and he dropped one for an interception. But Joe Burrow had the opportunity to drop it in a bucket. And look, the go ball, it's a big-time throw, but it's one, if you give NFL quarterbacks the opportunity, they're going to have more big-time throws. And I think that's a big part of the Joe Burrow advancement this year, even from a grading standpoint, is the Jamar Chase factor.
Yeah, I mean, the connection that they have is definitely a fantastic one, and obviously has a huge impact on Joe Burrow's game. I don't think you can put it all down to Jamar
Not
Chase.
all of it, but the difference between Burrow last year to this year.
But Burrow had a lot of those. Last year, he was a lot like Josh Allen the year before he broke out, where he'd actually graded really well on everything up to 20 yards.
Yeah.
And then those deep shots, for some reason, he was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. And that was Joe Burrow last season, that he just couldn't hit those deep passes. It's not like he wasn't attempting them or he was shying away from receivers that weren't getting that step of separation. He had, confidence in Chase that he didn't have in those guys. For some reason, he just wasn't accurate on those deep passes last season when we knew he was in college. We'd seen this part of his game. So I think he would have gotten better at that anyway. And the fact that Jamar Chase rolls along, it just sort of it catapults it. It takes him into a completely different stratosphere. So it's definitely part of it. But I think he has been a more aggressive quarterback than Herbert in the NFL, independent of Jamar Chase. The thing I think, though, that's really interesting, Justin Herbert is the subject of a lot of amateur psychology because he is that reserved, introverted type of personality that he said himself. That's the kind of guy he is. And that causes all kinds of people to speculate about, what is he as a leader? What is he, all this kind of stuff, right? And I'm sure most of it is crap. But there is an interesting difference or contrast between the two when, Herbert has that kind of reserved, laid back seat type of personality, and Burrow is more, when the game gets close, give me the damn ball and let me go to work, right? I don't care what you're doing on the sideline. Give me the ball. I will go and win this game. And I think that is definitely something that you want in a quarterback. I'm not saying Justin Herbert doesn't have that, but the fact that Burrow not only has that, but is vocal enough about it and sort of makes it a big part of his game to say, when this is close, when the game is on the line, just give me the ball and let me go to work. Give me the 2-minute drill. That, I think, is a really big part of his game and a real sort of tick in his plus column that, at the very minimum, I think you can say about Herbert, we don't know if he has the same trait.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Burrow definitely embraces it. The other thing I find interesting about both of them from a college career standpoint, Burrow wasn't great his second to last year, but he showed flashes, second to last year in college. But his last year in college, he legitimately did not have a bad game. It was just game after game in the SEC, all the way to the national title game. Just did not have a bad game. Whereas Herbert, now looking back, held back by the system. We knew we didn't have great playmakers. We knew they weren't really tapping into his skill set, but you didn't have that same type of production from Herbert. So they're kind of coming from different angles. Burrow's just kind of maintained his level of success, where Herbert has said, okay, I've got a better environment now. Watch me shine. So that's another interesting part of it as well. One more stat I just want to throw out there, and this would be on the concerning end of Joe Burrow. He's got the highest, one of my favorite stats, highest percentage of pressured dropbacks that have become sacks, right? So these are ones that they're kind of on the quarterback. They don't might not always show up in the grading, but it's one of those where the best quarterbacks are generally on the lower end and Burrow's on the higher end. He's got to get better when it comes to that. So look, bottom line, because we have to answer the question, I think it's very close. They're both different style quarterbacks. I would probably just lean toward this hypothetical upside that I think Herbert has. Are you going to take Burrow in this debate going forward here?
Yeah, I am. I think most people would take Herbert because of the obvious physical advantages and upside. And honestly, statistically, stylistically, it's looked better. But I think Burrow is better than his numbers have indicated. I'm a little bit more confident in the things that he's been good at maintaining for a long time.
Yeah, and our prediction last year that, hey, he was number 2 on passes up to 20 yards, as you said earlier. Deep ball coming around with Jamar Chase. Tough to go wrong with Joe Burrow either. But Burrow's number 2, Herbert's number 4 in the PFF grading right now. Who would you take, Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert?